What if everything you thought you knew about Boosie and J. Prince Jr.'s feud was a lie? What if Duke the Jeweler's death wasn't random at all, but the result of a calculated setup? For months, whispers have been spreading, and now explosive leaks, RICO chatter, and shocking power plays are pulling this story into the spotlight. The question is, who's really behind it all? And how deep does it go? To understand why things between Boosie and J. Prince Jr. are making headlines today, you first have to know where it all began. Boosie, the Baton Rouge legend who turned raw street stories into platinum records, has never been the type to play by industry rules. His career has been built on authenticity, sometimes to his benefit, and other times straight into controversy. On the other side, you've got J. Prince Jr., the son of Rap-A-Lot Records founder J. Prince Sr., a man often called the godfather of Houston hip-hop. While Boosie built his empire from the ground up, J. Prince Jr. was born into a dynasty. Together, the two had what seemed like a natural alliance. Boosie's street credibility, mixed with the Prince family's influence, created the kind of partnership that could open doors on both sides of the map. For a while, that connection worked. They were spotted at the same events, moved in the same circles, and seemed to show respect for each other publicly. To fans, it looked like nothing but love. But behind the scenes, insiders say the foundation was shakier than anyone realized. Both men had strong personalities, both commanded loyalty from their respective camps, and both had reputations that couldn't afford to be questioned. That's when the cracks began to show. Whispers of disagreements, loyalty disputes, and power plays started surfacing. It wasn't just about music anymore. It was about territory, control, and influence. And when you mix fame, money, and street politics, the line between friend and rival gets blurry, fast. The feud didn't explode overnight. It built up slowly, through subtle jabs, rumors, and a growing sense that trust was fading. And then, something happened that made fans question whether the alliance was ever real to begin with. Because the real drama wasn't in their past, it was what someone allegedly did next. The turning point in this entire story came when the name Duke the Jeweler entered the conversation. Duke wasn't just any jeweler. He was a rising figure in the hip-hop world, known for crafting bold custom pieces that had artists lining up to work with him. He had the kind of talent and charisma that made him more than just a jeweler. He was becoming a personality in his own right, but his life was cut short in a way that shocked fans everywhere. And the whispers about who might have been involved pointed straight back to Boosie and J. Prince Jr. It all started with a series of explosive claims online. But what really set the internet on fire was when 50 Cent himself began dropping hints and alleged proof, suggesting Duke's death wasn't a random tragedy at all. Videos began circulating, showing clips of Duke's final moments at a dice game, an event where both Boosie and J. Prince Jr.'s names surfaced in the background chatter. People began to ask, was this just a coincidence, or was something far more sinister going on? According to rumors that spread like wildfire, Duke may have been set up. The story goes that Duke was invited into what seemed like a friendly environment, surrounded by familiar faces, only for it to end in disaster. Some allege that the invite itself was a trap, designed to lure him into a situation where he wouldn't walk away. Others insisted it was a robbery gone wrong. But the narrative that began sticking, the one that gained the most traction, was that powerful names in the industry had a hand in making it happen. The alleged connection to Boosie and J. Prince Jr. sent shockwaves through the hip-hop community. For fans, it was hard to process. These weren't just random figures. These were two men with major influence and reputations already tied to controversy. The idea that they could be linked, even indirectly, to some. When whispers about Duke the Jeweler's setup started catching fire, they weren't just bouncing around on blogs and social media. Before long, those whispers were echoing in the ears of federal authorities, and that's when things turned deadly serious. For those who don't know, a RICO charge isn't just any criminal case. RICO, short for the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, was originally created to take down the mafia. It's the kind of charge that doesn't just go after individuals. It targets entire networks, entire organizations, and everyone tied to them. In other words, if the feds can connect you to a pattern of organized criminal activity, they don't just come for you, they come for everyone around you. Rumors began circulating that the feds had started looking into whether the events surrounding Duke's death connected to something much bigger, a possible pattern of organized activity linked to the circles Boosie and J. Prince Jr. moved in. Whispers of phone taps and wire surveillance spread, with insiders claiming that conversations were being monitored long before the public had any idea. Some said the feds were tracking financial moves, sudden shifts in alliances, and even old disputes that could be tied together under a RICO umbrella. In street terms, this wasn't about one tragic night anymore. It was about whether the entire structure around certain powerful figures was built on something the government could dismantle. The scary part? Under RICO, you don't have to be the one pulling the trigger or making the final call. If prosecutors can argue that you knew about illegal activities and were part of the larger structure, you can face the same penalties as the ones who carried it out. And if you're convicted, we're not talking about a slap on the wrist. We're talking decades behind bars, fortunes seized, and reputations permanently destroyed. The hip-hop community knows the weight of RICO all too well. Just look at the recent headlines with YSL and Young Thug. So when the same kind of talk started circling around Boosie and J. Prince Jr., the alarm bells couldn't be ignored. Fans wondered, could this be the next high-profile takedown? And here's where it gets even more intense. Some insiders claimed the feds were looking for connections that stretched far beyond Duke's death. Possible ties to gambling operations, street politics, and the kind of back-channel power plays that rarely see the light of day. Suddenly, everything that had seemed like street drama started looking like a federal case file. Still, there's more that only insiders may know. While rumors about RICO charges and federal eyes kept the streets buzzing, the most haunting part of the story was always tied to Duke the jeweler himself. Who he was, what he stood for, and what people believe happened to him in his final hours. Duke wasn't just a name in the industry. He was a rising figure whose work was starting to make him a household name among rappers, athletes, and entertainers. He wasn't flashy in the way some jewelers were. He carried himself with a mix of confidence and caution, which is why so many people were stunned when whispers began to circulate that he may have been set up by people he trusted. What's publicly known is that Duke was last seen at a dice game, a setting familiar to many in the hip-hop world. He reportedly had large sums of money on him, along with valuable jewelry. But insiders claim Duke felt secure because of who was around him: powerful figures, influential names, and people who, on the surface, were his allies. But according to explosive rumors, that sense of security was false. Some allege Duke received threats before the night even began. Others point to betrayal, saying that those closest to him that evening weren't protecting him. They were allegedly making sure he didn't leave the room with everything he walked in with. The most chilling part? There are claims that legal filings connected to the investigation reference individuals tied to the very circles Boosie and J. Prince Jr. moved in. Nothing proven, nothing confirmed, but the mere mention of those ties was enough to send shockwaves across the industry. For fans, it was a jaw-dropping suggestion that Duke's death wasn't random, but orchestrated. And if that's true, it undermines everything. It takes the story from being about a feud, or even just about RICO chatter, into the territory of cold calculation. It paints a picture where loyalty, friendship, and even business connections meant nothing when money and power were on the line. This is why Duke's name still echoes every time new details about this case surface. Because whether through alleged threats, betrayal by insiders, or the weight of federal suspicion, his story is the one that can't be ignored. Next comes J. Prince Jr. reaction, and it shook the industry. Just when the streets thought J. Prince Jr. might be cornered by speculation, his father, J. Prince Sr., stepped into the picture. And if you know anything about the industry, you know that when J. Prince Sr. speaks, people listen. He isn't just the founder of Rap-A-Lot Records. He's a figure so respected, and in some circles so feared, that his words carry the weight of both a warning and a shield. Reports began surfacing that J. Prince Sr. wasn't about to let his son's name get dragged through the mud without a fight. He issued statements and responses, some public, some allegedly through back channels, making it clear that the Prince family stood united. According to him, the rumors were nothing more than lies being spread to tear down his legacy and paint his son as something he wasn't. But if his defense of J. Prince Jr. was meant to cool things down, it may have had the opposite effect. His involvement only added fuel to the fire, because now it wasn't just about Boosie and Jr. It was about an entire empire's reputation. Insiders whispered about tensions inside the Prince camp itself, with some questioning whether Junior's moves had crossed lines that can put the whole family under scrutiny. On one hand, J. Prince was presenting a united front, pushing back against the allegations, reminding people of the Prince family's long-standing influence and the respect they commanded in the industry. On the other hand, the public couldn't ignore the fact that the feds don't watch people this closely without a reason. And when you mix family loyalty with street politics and a federal spotlight, the stakes don't just double, they explode. The complexity was clear. This wasn't just family business anymore. It was a clash of family loyalty, street code, and empire power. Every word J. Prince Sr. spoke, every move his camp made, was dissected by fans, critics, and the media, searching for signs of weakness or confirmation of guilt. And just when that seemed like the end, if you thought the story peaked with the federal whispers and J. Prince Sr.'s response, the past few years have shown that it's far from over. In fact, new rumors keep surfacing, some more explosive than the last, painting a picture of a saga that refuses to die down. One of the most shocking whispers making the rounds is the idea that Duke might not be entirely silent in this story. While official reports confirm his tragic passing, certain corners of the internet speculate that Duke had already been in contact with people before that night, possibly even cooperating with legal forces in ways that no one expected. Could Duke have been preparing to make moves that would have threatened powerful interests? Some believe so. Others think the feds might still have information tied to Duke that hasn't been revealed publicly. Adding to the tension are rumors of quiet legal deals being made behind the scenes. Whispers claim that individuals once close to both Boosie and J. Prince Jr. have been approached with offers, leniency in exchange for information. Whether these are just conspiracy theories or actual moves by investigators, they've stirred the pot enough that fans now see every silence, every cryptic post, and every sudden disappearance from the spotlight as a possible sign that something bigger is brewing. Meanwhile, the industry itself has been watching alliances shift like never before. Longtime associates are allegedly distancing themselves, while others double down in loyalty. These fractures have people asking the obvious question: if nothing's going on, why are certain relationships suddenly so fragile? The speculation is that some insiders already know which way the tide is turning, and they're positioning themselves before the full truth comes out. Even more chilling is the growing belief that court filings may be on the horizon that could drag names into the public eye in ways that can't be denied or dismissed. If the rumors are true, the quiet maneuvers happening behind the scenes might be laying the groundwork for the kind of revelations that shake not just the streets, but the entire industry. So what does all this build toward? When you pull back the layers, the story of Boosie, J. Prince Jr., and the tragic fate of Duke the Jeweler isn't just about a feud. It's about power, loyalty, and the dangerous price of influence. We started with the rise of a partnership that once looked unbreakable, only to watch it crack under pressure. We looked at the setup allegations that turned a shocking loss into a web of suspicion. We saw how RICO charges and federal involvement raised the stakes far beyond street rumors, threatening to dismantle entire networks. Then came the untold details about Duke's side, painting a picture of betrayal and danger that still chills those who hear it. And when J. Prince Sr. entered the conversation, the weight of family, legacy, and empire collided with whispers of criminal conspiracy. Now, with new rumors and speculation hinting at legal deals, shifting alliances, and looming revelations, the question isn't just about what happened that night. It's about who's really pulling the strings. Because if even part of these whispers hold truth, it means the story isn't over, not by a long shot. So the real question is who really engineered it all, and what comes next? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the setup was real, or is this all smoke with no fire? And if you want the truth as it unfolds, make sure you hit that subscribe button, because trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next.